Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V20 6-tool power tool combo kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Nats Chat is brought to you by Walters. Walters is the best sports bar in Navy Yard, located just across the street from Nationals Park. Also a great place to check out if you're headed to Audi Field.
Walters would love to host your next event. Go to waltersdc.com and click on private events to get in touch with us.
Nationals 5, Rockies 3. The 0-2. Inside, low to the backstop. Here comes Call to the plate, and he will score. So 2 bases loaded walks and a wild pitch, and it's 6-3 Nationals. A complete meltdown by Brad Hand. There goes Tovar. Here's the pitch. Swinging a line drive base hit center field. This game's tied. Diaz to the plate, Tovar to third as Robles plays it in. The Rockies have rallied to tie the Nationals for the third time today. It is 6-6 on this Coors Field seesaw. It'll be a 3-1. Harris deals it, and he walked him. Fastball high, and the Rockies lead. Tovar scores. It's 7-6 Colorado.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Monday, April 10th, 2023, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Coors Field. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Well, as we discussed on the last installment of the podcast, the Nats, in their 7-6 win at the Colorado Rockies on Saturday night, nearly blew a big lead. Did not blow the big lead, but nearly did that. The Nats gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth and nearly blowing a 7-2 ninth-inning lead. Well, the Nats on Sunday did blow a lead of significance, gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning. The Nats' 2-game winning streak came to an end, a 7-6 loss off the 7-6 win. The Nats now are 3-7. They ended up splitting this 4-game series at the Rockies. You know, Mark, the first game of this series, and the first game feels like it was about 10 years ago now, but the first game of this series, a 1-0 Nats loss. The final 3 games of the series, much more along the lines of what we have come to expect at Coors Field.
Yeah, these were definitely Coors Field games, Al. And the most shocking thing to me about this game was that after 6 innings, it's 7-6. And I know Bullpen had all kinds of issues there and turning a lead into a deficit, but I could not believe that nothing else happened the rest of the way. I was fully expecting there to be a lot more offense for both sides before it was all said and done. And I thought this was going to be one of those wild games that's decided in the 9th inning, and it actually wasn't. That shocked me. After seeing enough games here, and certainly the last couple of nights, I just assumed that was a given. And instead, both lineups shut down the final 3 innings, and the Nats end up losing 7-6 in a game that I would have thought would be much higher scoring than that, to be honest.
Certainly had the feel. I mean, the 6th inning alone, the Nats scored 3 runs in the top of the 6th. The Rockies scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th, and you feel like, okay, here we go. But yeah, the rest of the game, we ended up having really not much going on. So the Nats in this game blow a 6-3 6th-inning lead, give up the 4 runs in that bottom of the 6th inning. I mean, it's so odd. You know, the Nats now 3-7. They, over their first 7 games of this regular season, total 17 runs. The Nats, over the final 3 games of this series, total 23 runs. So, like, overall, the offense came alive over these last 3 games. Overall, the starting pitching in this series was acceptable. And, you know, the bullpen, I mean, there were plenty of relief outings that were good, if not very good. But just the bad really ended up being bad, especially in this game. Erasmo Ramirez was bad for a second time in 3 games. He, in a 4-run Rockies 6, got charged with 2 runs, but there was a lot more to his outing than just that. He gave up 3 hits. He got just 2 outs. Came into the game, bottom of the 6th, runners on 2nd and 3rd, nobody out, and the Nats nursing a 6-3 lead. He induced an RBI ground out by Jonathan Daza, then gave up a 1-out RBI double by Elias Diaz to a wide open center field. Center fielder Victor Robles was playing toward right center, and that ended up not being the way to go. Ramirez then gave up a 1-out infield single by Ezequiel Tovar on a grounder on which shortstop C.J. Abrams made a really nice running and spinning catch of the grounder up the middle. Ramirez then struck out Jurickson Profar on 3 pitches for the 2nd out, but then gave up a 2-out full count RBI single by Charlie Blackmon to center field to tie the game at 6. And then Ramirez issued a 2-out first pitch hit by pitch of Chris Bryant to load the bases. I mean, you say to yourself, what is going on here? Davey Martinez pulled Erasmo Ramirez from the game. And, Hobie Harris came into the game, did a pretty good job getting the Nats out of that. He then pitched pretty well over the final 2 innings of the game. But the bullpen ended up blowing this thing. And, what could have been a win, what could have been a series win, Nats could have taken 3 out of 4 in this series. That ends up not happening. And, I guess you can't put it all on the bullpen. The bullpen clearly did not do its job in this game.
Well, here's how I look at this. This was the domino effect of the previous 2 nights, okay? You had a scenario in which, as we found out after the fact, I had a hunch at least some of this was true. I didn't know all of it would be true. Kyle Finnegan, Carl Edwards, and Hunter Harvey all unavailable after pitching the previous 2 nights. And I think Davey wanted to stay away from Mason Thompson as well, although Thompson was actually warming up in the top of the 9th, just in case they came back and tied it or took the lead. So he actually would have been the closer in this game. So you've got essentially your entire A bullpen unavailable to you. Now, what does that also mean? That means, and I think we speculated last night this might happen, Chad Kuhl was going to have to be forced to go a little longer than maybe they would have. And I asked Davey after the game, if you have your normal bullpen available to you, would you have just pulled Chad Kuhl after 5 innings? And Davey said, yeah, probably so. So now you have him try to start the 6th inning. He faces 2 batters, doesn't get either of them out. Now you go to Erasmo. We saw him struggle the other day. He has not been right so far this year. Maybe we're finding out that last year was the mirage a little bit. He was outstanding for them last year, has not looked the same this year. And then you might have pulled him sooner as things are falling apart in the inning, but your option after that was Hobie Harris in his 3rd big league appearance. And he ends up putting him in with the bases loaded. So it's a tough spot to ask of him anyways. So I think this was a domino effect of everything that had happened the previous few days. And it shows you what happens. You play a 4-game series at Coors Field. It's almost impossible for your pitching to hold up the entire time. I thought for the most part, they did an admirable job of it. Like you said, there were some very good relief appearances in this series. But in the end, it's just too much to ask to get all of them to be that good. And so that's why I almost would have rather seen them score some more runs. I know it's weird to say that on a day you scored 6 runs that the offense wasn't good enough, but in this ballpark, maybe it wasn't good enough.
Well, it's odd. The Nats in this game scored the 6 runs, had only 8 hits. All of them were singles. I mean, this was a weirdo offensive game. 8 singles to go with 6 walks. That was good. But, the Nats advanced runners in other ways. The Rockies' defense in this series was really bad. The Rockies are not an impressive team. It is hard to know what to take from this series, A, because of the house of mirrors that is Coors Field, but B, because, the Rockies, I don't think are very good, certainly not from a run prevention standpoint, pitching and defense. So just to reiterate that, so that is key. Finnegan, Harvey, and Edwards all unavailable on Sunday. That's a big deal. I mean, you think about this bullpen. Yes, the Nats starting pitching in each of the first 3 games of this series was good, but the bullpen has been leaned on a lot, and it is operating on fumes to a degree here. I mean, it's easy to kind of lose sight of this. The Nats have not had an off day this month, haven't had an off day since March 31st. The next one isn't until this Thursday, at least the next scheduled one. So yes, it is early in the season, but, Davey has been aggressive with his bullpen deployment. We talked about that, say a Mason Thompson on Saturday night, throwing just 9 pitches, getting yanked. Normally, you applaud that kind of aggression, but when you're in the midst of a stretch like this, with a team like this, I wonder if Davey is going to start trying to push relievers a little more in games so that he's not regularly using, 3, 4, 5 relievers game in, game out.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a catch-22 of types because you're saying, hey, we have a chance to win a game. We have to take advantage of every opportunity we get to win a game. So you want to use your best options, as many of them as you need, but that then maybe leaves you the next day in a position like they were for this one. Now, if Mason Thompson goes multiple innings on Saturday, which we discussed, that was certainly an option for him, only went 9 pitches, that means he's not available probably for this one. And had they come back or had they had the ability to win this game in the 9th inning, it probably would have been Mason Thompson on the mound. So now who else do you turn to? Well, maybe Carl Edwards wouldn't have been needed, whatever. So it's a chess match and it's putting together pieces of a puzzle. And it's not just about today. It's about what happened yesterday. It's about what you need for tomorrow. It is unfortunate there's no off day here. You got 3 games now at Anaheim against, as we know, the potentially very good Angels team, although they never seem to live up to what they're supposed to be. You need quality starting pitching to get through it. And then maybe what you have to do is say, okay, today, these are the guys we're going to use out of the bullpen, even if it means multiple innings, and then they won't be available tomorrow. And then we're going to use the other guys tomorrow. maybe that's what you have to do. But I can't necessarily fault him for saying, hey, they had 2 opportunities to win games. They went for it. They won both those games. And now you get to the finale and you're sort of out of arms.
Yeah, and ultimately, this isn't about Davey's bullpen management as much as it is about guys getting outs and not getting those outs. I mean, Anthony Banda and Carl Edwards on Saturday night in the bottom of the 9th, combining to allow 4 runs, combining for 44 pitches. Like, you got to do better than that. You're up 7-2. You got to be better than that. And, even to a lesser degree, Erasmo Ramirez in this game, I mean, he was arguably the Nationals' most impressive pitcher last season, at least in terms of results. But he is a reliever. We know how it is with these guys. They are fickle. They are year to year, and he is not off to a particularly good start this season. I will say this with Hobie Harris. First of all, right, rookie comes into the game, bottom of the 6th, bases loaded, 2 outs, game tied at 6 at Coors Field. Like, hey, welcome to the party, pal. He to the first batter he faced issued a bases loaded walk of Ryan McMahon. That was the tie-breaking run. Rockies go up 7-6. But Harris did then get Mike Moustakas to ground out with the bases loaded, then tossed a perfect bottom of the 7th, scoreless bottom of the 8th. So that actually was pretty good. Like, you didn't know what to think. Harris comes into the game. Maybe this thing gets blown wide open. Harris actually did a pretty good job of keeping the Nats in the game. And to your point, the offense wasn't able to do much of anything in the latter innings.
Right. Yeah, I think actually you do. I know you're never going to say, hey, it's a good outing when you come in and walk in the eventual winning run. But that's a really tough spot for him to be in as a rookie in his 2nd week in the big leagues. And he did a very nice job then to shrug that off and go and get the rest of the outs that were needed and allow them not to have to go to any other relievers so that maybe somebody else is available tomorrow who may have had to pitch this game instead. I want to go back also. You mentioned the Elias Diaz double. It's hard to call it that. It was a fly ball to straightaway center field.
Ramirez ready. Outside target. He deals. Swinging a line drive to straightaway center. Robles from right center is not going to get there. And this one is by him. He'll pick it up on the warning track.
Watching it before he even got the hit, we all noticed this. Robles is shaded. I don't think I've ever seen a center fielder shaded that far over into right center. It was legitimately right center field, not just like center, right center. It was all the way to right center. And I'm thinking, what's up with that? What's the reasoning behind it? And then sure enough, you get a routine ball. If he's standing in his normal position, he doesn't have to move a muscle. That ball is right at him. And that could have changed the complexion of the entire inning. So I was curious afterwards to find out what was really going on there. And I thought it was interesting. Both Davey Martinez and Erasmo Ramirez were highly complimentary of Robles. That he did that himself. He was shaded anyways, but he kept going further. He was reading the swings off of Diaz's bat.
He moved over there. I thought it was pretty smart of him. Like I said, it was just a hanging breaking ball. If he throws him another fastball, he was going to hit the ball there. And, I like the fact that Vic is thinking.
He had seen him all weekend trying to go the other way with almost everything. Now, I know he pulled a home run earlier in the game, but in that at-bat, he was fouling pitches off to the right side. He felt like with a runner in scoring position, he's just trying to hit the ball to right field and drive him in. So they all applauded Robles for the brains to move himself into that spot. And it was Erasmo who was kicking himself for not making the right pitch there and giving Diaz something that he could, get to and actually not pull it because it was straight away, but not have to go the other way. The pitcher was supposed to be much farther outside. It didn't get outside enough. So I thought that was interesting. I'm sure everybody watching that was like, wait, where is the center fielder? Why isn't he where he's supposed to be? In this case, they're saying right thought process, wrong result.
Well, and I also would say this. I mean, ultimately, can't the dugout communicate to Robles if the dugout doesn't want Robles positioning himself, say, in right center as opposed to center? Good for Victor for doing that. But, to me, it ultimately falls back on Davey and his staff. Like, if they see Robles shifting to someplace where they don't want Robles, then they should be able to communicate to him, hey, get back to where you normally are. And presumably that did not happen. But yeah, it's kind of like when a hitter hits a ball to where people aren't in a shift. Like, the process was sound. The result was unfortunate. That's how I kind of look at that. If Robles did as his teammates wanted him to do, the dugout didn't tell Robles not to do it. So presumably there was thought, maybe even data behind what he did. And, it just didn't work out. That does happen.
Yeah, it's just hard to see that. I don't know if I've ever seen that. A ball straight to center field just fall in a big moment in a game like that. I do wonder if he had been 10 feet closer, maybe he's got a chance still to make that catch and it wouldn't have really impacted his ability to make a play in right center. But again, I'm telling you what they all said in the locker room afterwards. They had no problem with it. Not just no problem with it, but they applauded him for thinking to do that based on what he was seeing throughout the game and the whole weekend.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you got to get outs, and Ramirez is not getting outs. You know, he did not generate a lot of strikeouts last season, even with his great results. He does give up a lot of contact, and we saw that contact in this game. And I go back to that hit by pitch of Chris Bryant. I mean, the game is falling apart, and then on the first pitch to Bryant, Erasmo hits Bryant with a pitch. You're like, oh my gosh, what is happening here? So it was not his game. It was not his weekend for sure. Hey guys, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation. Everyone loves a smart investment, especially right now, and there is no better place to put your money right now than in your home. If your home is 20 years old or older, Window Nation has the perfect offer for you. Get 0% financing for 5 years. This is unheard of. 0 interest for 5 years. Plus, Window Nation will give you 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy. Protect and increase the value of your home today. Get this special deal. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you. You can save up to 30% on your energy bills. You can increase the value of your home by up to $12,000, and you can pay 0 interest for 5 years and get 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy. And this goes for any style of window from Window Nation. There is no limit. Save thousands of dollars on your new windows and then save thousands of dollars on your energy bills, all while upgrading the look and feel of your home. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Again, 0 interest for 5 years plus 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy. 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
Third baseman playing up even with a bag. Montero shallow for Robles. Runner first goes, swinging a ground ball through the vacated position into right center field. A base hit. Garrett scores from third, and speeding on to third is Ildemaro Vargas. Victor Robles hit it hard on the ground to the right side with a second baseman breaking to cover the bag with a runner going, and has himself an RBI single. He drives in his 3rd run of the year, and the Nationals are on top here in Colorado. Here in the top of the 2nd with 2 out runners on the corners. The Nats 1 and the Rockies nothing.
With Victor Robles, you know, how about what this guy is doing? And it's not just what he's doing, it's how he is doing what he is doing. Victor Robles had himself another really nice series, and we had another instance of good, smart, fundamentally sound baseball from Victor Robles in this game. So he on Sunday as the Nats number 9 batter, 2 for 4 with an RBI single and another single, each single an opposite field single. Robles in an Nats 2-run second, a 2-out opposite field RBI single through the right side of the infield for a 1-0 Nats lead. Now, it looked like a hit and run. Kevin Franzen on MASN made it a point to say that that was not a hit and run, but then listening to Davey Martinez's post-game session with you guys, Davey got asked about it as if it was a hit and run and didn't say that it wasn't a hit and run. So whatever the case, it looked like a hit and run, and Robles came through. And then Victor in the Nats 3-run 6th, a 1-out first pitch, opposite field single through the right side of the infield. He is using all portions of the field. He now, in this regular season, has a batting average of .387 and an on-base percentage of .472. Of course, there is the caveat of small sample size, but man, he has been a real bright spot for the Nats so far.
Well, and it's like you said, the numbers are great, don't get me wrong, but to me, it's about the way he is executing almost flawlessly at all of these fundamental things that over the last several years, you just shake your head. It drives you crazy when he doesn't do it. It was a hit and run. I don't know what Franny was watching. Maybe he thought he saw something different, but it was a called hit and run, and he executed that to perfection. The safety squeeze the previous night, which wound up being the difference in the game because they won by 1 run, perfectly executed on the first pitch. He didn't foul one off. He didn't take a strike. He got it down on the first pitch. His decisions in the outfield have been very good, whether to throw, whether not to throw. Discipline to plate has been there. Now, Most of the offensive success has come against lefties. We still need to see him do it more against righties. They've faced a bunch of lefties so far this season, so let's see. But it's hard not to look at this and say something is clicking there at last for him. He calls it focus. That's what the word he keeps using to describe what he's doing differently in the past. He's just staying focused on everything and every moment. Good for him for doing that. Of course, it's 10 games, and that's not enough to declare anything. But we saw signs of it in spring training, and he's doing it now to begin the season. And if he can continue doing this, wow, what a difference and what an unexpected delight that would be if Victor Robles turns into something more like the player that they always believed he could be.
He doesn't need to hit like Mike Trout. No one is asking him to hit like Mike Trout. He just can't be the double negative as an offensive player as he had been these last 3 seasons. Even in 2019, when he was so good defensively, it's not like he was great offensively. He was just decent. If he can just be decent as a batter and great as a fielder, that is a really good player. And the defense has come back in recent years. He just needs to make the offense be palatable. And so far, it's been a lot more than that. He's doing a nice job. So good to see that with Victor Robles. Stone Garrett followed up his monster game on Saturday night, 4 for 5, 3-run homer, 2 doubles, and a 2-run single with another nice game in this game. So he was back out there as the Nats starting designated hitter as Joey Meneses for the first time this regular season got a day off. Stone was the Nats number 5 batter on Sunday, 2 for 5, 2 singles, did strike out twice, but Garrett in that Nats 2-run second, a leadoff opposite field single through the right side of the infield on an 0-2 pitch. And then Garrett in the top of the 5th, a 2-out infield single on a slow chopper to the Rockies shortstop Ezequiel Tovar, despite having been down in that count at 1.02. There weren't many big hits in this game, but especially with Robles and Garrett, you saw impressive things. And with Stone Garrett, who knows how long this lasts for, but he obviously has an ability to hit, and he certainly did hit over the final 2 games of this series.
Yeah, and he just got under one of the 9th inning. He sent it to the warning track and left. That could have flipped the whole game if that one had gone out. Yeah, a lot of good things to like there. And Davey acknowledged, look, when you do what you do on Saturday night, how do you keep him out of the lineup? You got to put him in there somewhere. So now it was a question of who gets the day off, and he decided it made most sense for Joey Meneses to get his first day off. Think about this. Meneses really played all spring, whether it was for the Nationals or Mexico in the WBC. He hasn't really looked himself yet. He's had a few moments in the last couple of days where he thought, okay, that's a better sign from him, but I think it was perfectly fine to give him this day off. We'll see what they do now, because unless you're going to regularly sit Meneses or Dom Smith or Alex Call, I'm not sure there is going to be a spot for Stone Garrett. But good for him for taking advantage of these opportunities, and at the very least, he's given them reason to say that they don't just need to send him back down as soon as there's time to make a move, that he could be a part of this. We're ways off from this happening, but it'll be interesting to see when Corey Dickerson is healthy, what do they do? And maybe they will extend that IL stint for Corey Dickerson a bit longer and have him go on a very long rehab assignment at some point. If Call and Garrett are continuing to perform like this, no offense to Dickerson, who still could be a good player, but as we've talked about, he's not the future here. You have an opportunity to look at some guys who could be part of the future here, so you'd hate to take at bats away from them in exchange for a veteran on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, Corey Dickerson may be put on the Alex Avila rehab plan of 2021, which is get well, just don't necessarily get well soon. How about that? You mentioned Alex Call. He ended up being the Nationals' number 2 batter or number 1 batter in all 4 games of this series. He was a number 2 batter in game 1. He was the Nats' leadoff batter in games 2, 3, and 4. He ended up being fairly productive. Friday night, 1 for 4 with a solo homer, a bases-loaded walk, and an RBI sac fly. Saturday night, 2 for 5 double and a single. Sunday afternoon, 1 for 3 with a single and 2 walks. We know that there has been a lot of changing with these Davey Martinez lineups. That said, do you think it could be that Alex Call, I can't believe I'm asking this question, but that Alex Call ends up being the Nats' every game, or at least usual number 1 batter, at least for the time being?
If he keeps drawing walks like this and getting on base, yeah. He's got 8 walks now on the season, leading the team among the league leaders in that, and he's just giving them good quality plate appearances. He's maybe not getting a ton of stuff to hit, but he's not chasing, and that's their number 1 thing right now that they keep telling these guys. Make them throw it in the strike zone, and if they're not, take your walks, and he has done that very well. He's a good base runner. He's been solid in the field. He's even driven in some runs when he has had opportunities. He has run with this opportunity and made the most of it. Now, again, it's only a few games. This isn't a guy who was highly touted. They picked him up off waivers from Cleveland last year, and we saw glimpses of him late last season that made you say, okay, maybe they got something here, but I'm not sure anybody really was looking at it as more than a fourth outfielder on this team in the long run. But he has this opportunity now where he is going to get to play a lot, potentially hit at the top of the lineup for a while. And if he continues to do this, then he can force his way into that discussion, and good for him for making the most of this opportunity.
I was happy to see CJ Abrams get elevated to the number 6 spot. He has been better lately, but CJ on Sunday 0 for 5 with a strikeout. So I don't know. I feel like with Davey, that might be the last time that CJ is out of that number 9 and number 8 spot for a while. We'll see. But obviously long term, you want CJ Abrams batting up there in that lineup.
Hey, Nats Chat listeners, Tim Shovers here, producer and founder of the podcast. Here to tell you about Game Time. Do you struggle sometimes to find tickets to your favorite events? Buying tickets to your favorites shouldn't be so stressful. That's why you should look into the Game Time app. It's even harder these days with the lack of paper tickets available on the street. If you're looking for tickets to Nats, DC United, or even the Drake concert this summer, Game Time offers the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account at gametime.co and redeem code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Long hold. Here it comes. Fastball line to right center field. This may get down, maybe not. Daza into a slide. He makes the catch. And the game is over. Jonathan Daza with a sliding, sprawling catch in right center field to take a hit away from C.J. Abrams. And the Rockies hold on for a 7-6 win here at Coors Field.
The National starting pitcher on Sunday was Chad Kuhl. I mean, it was easily the worst of the 4 outings from National starting pitchers in this series. Although even this outing by Kuhl, I would say, was better than the final line indicated. And I sort of say that reluctantly because the final line was 5 runs in 5 innings. And, he had a hard time throwing strikes. 90 pitches over the 5 innings, just 47 strikes versus 43 balls. But 2 of the runs scored on him came with him out of the game. Gave up 6 hits, 2 home runs, but 2 solo home runs. Also gave up 2 doubles and 2 singles. He did issue 4 walks. That was a problem. One of them was intentional. He also had a wild pitch. He recorded 3 strikeouts. He had a weird bottom of the first inning. He somehow did not allow a run in the bottom of the first despite all kinds of things going on. A 1-out infield single by Charlie Blackmon on which the Nats starting second baseman on Sunday, Ildemaro Vargas, made a nice diving catch in shallow right, but also hurt his left shoulder. Kuhl issued a 1-out walk. Chris Bryant issued a 1-out wild pitch that gave the Rockies runners on second and third. And then Kuhl issued a 2-out intentional walk of Mike Moustakas after a pitch clock violation by Kuhl. All of these things happened in the bottom of the first, and yet he did not give up a run in that inning. But he did give up a run in the bottom of the second on a double, a single, and a run-scoring double play, and then gave up those 2 solo home runs. So, I guess it was sort of the idea of the bar with a Chad Kuhl is lower than it is with somebody else. You had a chance to win this game. He wasn't great. I don't even know if you could say that he was good, but, he kept you in the game. And I suppose with a Chad Kuhl, that's what you're asking for.
Right. And if they have a full bullpen and he's pulled after 5 innings, you're saying 3 runs in 5 innings. Okay. Number 5 starter at Coors Field. That's about all you can ask for. And so he was kind of a victim of the circumstances in needing to go back out there. Now, it didn't mean he pitched all that well. I don't think he did. That first inning was so bizarre, and how we got out of that with a 0 on the board, I still don't know. I thought it was so fascinating and funny to see the mindset of, and we haven't seen anything like this in the history of baseball. You get a pitch clock violation that turns a 2-1 count into a 3-1 count. First base is open. So what do? Just go ahead and put 4 fingers up, let him take the base. I think that's probably the right move there, to be honest. But it's just so funny that this is a scenario we never could have imagined previously. And then he goes and strikes out the next batter, Montero, on 3 straight sliders. So they got to the better matchup. He got the Rockies' third baseman 3 straight pitches out of the zone. So good for him for getting out of that. But he just never really found his groove. Like you said, a lot of balls, not nearly enough strikes. Home runs, he's now given up, 2 of them in his first start, 2 of them in this one. Yeah, they're solo, so they're not hugely damaging. But I guess I would just say, so far, he's pitching like a number 5 starter. And that's what he is, and that's okay. He's not Cade Cavalli, who this was supposed to be, which is unfortunate. But if he gives them 5 innings and gives them a chance to win every time he takes the mound, then that's fine. He's done his job. The reasons that they lost this game, I would say, are not because of Chad Kuhl. I think it had to do with a lot of other factors.
I think what's interesting, too, with what happened with Mike Moustakas is you could argue that actually was a win for the Nats in that the bat was taken out of Moustakas' hand, and that because of the pitch clock violation, the Nats opted to go with the intentional walk, and so Moustakas ended up not getting an opportunity to do what, someone like a Mike Moustakas can do, which is, hit for power. I mean, you think about this upcoming series at the Angels, let's say a similar predicament takes place with, a Mike Trout or a Shohei Ohtani batting. Like, that's actually a win for the Nats if you avoid the guy swinging. So it's just kind of quirky how that can work out. So the Nationals in the midst of this 7-game trip out west, 3-7 on the season. Next up is this 3-game series at the Angels. Game 1, Monday night, 9:38, Patrick Corbin is the starting pitcher. Game 2, Tuesday night, 9:38, Josiah Gray versus Shohei Ohtani is your pitching matchup. And then Game 3, Wednesday afternoon, 4:07, Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher. We said it. I mean, no off day since the 31st. If you're the Nats, this is one of those situations where you're just trying to get through this series and hoping like heck you get some length from your starting pitchers. All things considered, this series at the Rockies could have been a lot worse. It was a wild series. It's a draining series. I mean, we feel drained talking about it. I can only imagine how the Nationals feel, but they're going to have to find a way to plow through 3 games at a team of the Angels that, like you said, perennial underachievers, but nobody ever denies the talent on this team. And, for a team like the Nats, this could be a difficult matchup.
Yeah, it absolutely could for this pitching staff against those big names. And Anthony Rendon will be in the lineup as well. He has served his suspension. He's back now. Yeah, they need length. They need Corbin to give them a chance. And then you hope that what we saw these last few times out from Josiah Gray and Mackenzie Gore can continue. I'm really interested to see how those 2 guys face that lineup in that setting. That's going to be fun, and you hope productive, and you hope you come out of this saying, okay, Mackenzie Gore does look like the real deal. Josiah Gray does look like he can do this against good hitters. We'll see how that plays out. But back to the Rocky series real quick. Yeah, you come out of it 2-2 and you say, okay, they survived it. They did all right. They really could have won 3, if not all 4. The 2 losses were by 1 run. They didn't score at all on Thursday. This was a game that was certainly there for the taking. I'm never going to say it's a bad series to go 2 out of 4 against anybody, certainly in a ballpark like this, but it did feel like there was a real opportunity there to take 3 of 4 and go to Anaheim feeling pretty good about yourself after that rough first week of the season. Now, I don't know. At this point, we've seen the Braves and the Rays, who are probably 2 of the best teams in baseball, clearly superior to the Nationals. And we've seen the Rockies, probably one of the worst teams in baseball. And I thought the Nats were the superior team in this series. Now you face a team that's maybe somewhere in the middle, the Angels. Maybe this will be our first real indication of where the Nats are in terms of how much they've improved or not. I think it's kind of hard to say 10 games in just based on the competition they faced.
You tell us what you think. Hit us up on Twitter at Nats_chat. You can email the podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like to sponsor the Nats Chat Podcast. Email Tim Shovers at natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at Nats Chat Podcast. You can get yourself or someone who you know a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt by going to natschatpodcast.square.site. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. A salute to Tim Newmark for the Nats Chat Podcast music. Visit timnewmark.com, and Newmark is spelled Neumark. We have survived 4 games at Coors Field. Next up, this big 3-game series at the Angels. We thank you for listening. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
0-1 pitch to Elijah Green. Line drive. Base hit into left field. Happy Easter. A Frednat walk-off winner. Elijah Green puts an exclamation point on a phenomenal weekend, and the Fred Nats win the series.